question. It's unfortunate that critics of this bill want to narrowly apportion these changes to one person. These are not changes for the presidential term alone. These are changes for the presidential, the parliamentary, and the local government terms. So essentially, we have changed each and every aspect of our election cycle so that the election cycle can allow us to have progressive developments. We have a certain number of issues that we look at. We look at the trajectory of our economy, the issues that are happening, the cycle for major projects which we need as a country to move forward economically. And these cycles fall within a 7-year period, not a 5-year period. This is one of the mainstays and the reasons why we have decided to change the length of the cycle. Then we look also at the issue of toxicity. We find that 5-year cycles keep people in perpetual election mode, perpetual toxicity, perpetual one-uppance, trying to always undermine one another. So these are issues that we look at for the betterment of our country and to ensure that we have a better Zimbabwe for tomorrow. So it is quite narrow, mischievous, and shallow-minded for one to think that this is a change which benefits one individual. After this amendment, the next cycle of leaders are going to also enjoy this. Laws are for eternity. Human beings are finite. So at the end of the day, instead of actually appreciating the magnanimity of the president and Zanu PF and the people that thought of this amendment, to say that this is an amendment which is for the future, which is for the betterment of our people. If we were to be narrow-minded, we would have instituted these changes maybe in 2018, but we're instituting them now because we are looking objectively at issues that are obtaining. So we hope and pray that this bill goes through. We have seen the absolute support, and we've seen that the critics are but a few voices in a corner, and we are happy that the people of Zimbabwe are coming out in full support.
Yeah.
Well, if we're to look at matters, the president has been very clear on the issue of violence. The president has categorically spoken time and time again against the scourge of violence which pervades us as society. As to who is the perpetrator, of course, the opposition always pointed Zanu PF, but as Zanu PF, we are on point and on record as stating that our position is clear against the scourge of violence. It is unfortunate that violence continues to occur in various stratas, politics, society, even in churches there is violence. But this is something that we condemn as Zanu PF. When people go for these consultative meetings, there is a crowd of people and people are randomly picked. It is unfortunate that in a crowd where the majority of the people are in support of the bill, the majority of the voices heard will be those supporting the bill. We, the people that are convening these meetings, do not first ask whether one supports or is against. They simply randomly pick people to speak. The fact that the majority of voices coming out are positive speaks to the fact that the majority of people in attendance are for the bill, reflecting that the majority of Zimbabweans are for the bill. The opposition needs to move out of its toxic approach to each and every contestation, and sometimes appreciate and respect the will of the people. They cannot continue to try and subvert the hopes and aspirations of the people by trying to impugn falsities and negative issues on every story. We condemn the violence that happened against Professor Maduku. We condemn the violence that has occurred anywhere else. We condemn all forms of violence, political or otherwise. And we have full faith that the police will always get to the bottom of any issue. We have a very professional police force and we're proud of it. And as Zanu PF, we support its activities. But as to the legitimacy of this bill is beyond censure. The first day spoke, the first day proved that this bill was already accepted by the people, and indeed, as we had said, came from the people. So this is it. We are happy with our bill, and we are happy to see it getting so much support. It is a falsification for one to say that this change in the manner in which a president is appointed limits the will of the people. That is false. We have spoken and shown that this was the system that was within our country from 1980 to 1990, when we then introduced the executive presidency. This was how the prime minister was appointed. We also look across the region. We have a similar model in South Africa and in Botswana. albeit with slight changes which fit their growth as individual sovereign nations. So we have also added a similarity, but with a Zimbabwean twist. You find that in South Africa, for one to be a president, they have to first be a member of parliament. We have chosen not to look at that. So the differences are very, very minor, but of course you find that critics will try to run with them. This is the same model even in those countries that call themselves proponents of democracy, like the United States of America. You find 36 out of 56 countries in the Commonwealth follow this model. So we are not introducing a model which has not been cycled in Zimbabwe before. That's the first point. We are not introducing a model which is unique in this world. It is not even unique within this region of SADC. So these people that try to attack and say this is a bending of democratic values are simply running away from the fact that every election since 2000, they've always tried to attack the legitimacy of the election by attacking the presidential vote. So now that this rug has been pulled from under their feet, they are in paroxysms, trying to find a way to continue having relevance with their toxicity in the body of politics of Zimbabwe. So that's the unfortunate thing, that these people are not arguing from a point or a perspective of true love for democracy, but from a point of trying to maintain relevance. If one is to objectively look, every election has never had parliamentary contestations. It has always been the presidential vote. So if the president is appointed by parliament, what else do they have to say? The opposition has nothing to say in the next election. And as to whether they say that this opens the doors for anyone to become president, that is not the case with us in Zanu PF. We always have a Congress before every election. And at our Congress, the person who is appointed first secretary automatically becomes our presidential candidate. So we know who the parliament will be voting for. It is unfortunate for them in their willy-nilly politics, which lacks constitutions, which lacks form, that this may turn around on them. But we cannot abstain from putting in a positive constitutional amendment simply because some organizations lack the capacity to be well organized. This is a very, very misbegotten assessment, because whether the president wins by what pleases the opposition or not, the president will have won. That is point number one. We simply seek a 50+1, and then we have a president appointed. However, I've already stated that our issue is to do and deal with the issue of all this toxicity that emanates from post-election, which has been the bread and butter for some people within opposition circles and some people within civic society who masquerade as lawyers and so on. So this issue is not about accountability. You find that when the president is appointed by parliament, instead of becoming accountable to the people at the next election, the president is accountable periodically, as he is subject to parliamentary approval as he institutes his changes and institutes his policies. So this is actually a system which benefits the people more, because it is bringing in more accountability towards the people from the president through parliament. So essentially, any other argument to try and say there's a subversion of democracy is simply a false allegation. This is an upholding of democracy, a growth of democracy, and an expansion of the democratic will of the people of Zimbabwe. That is one of the worst accusations that critics could come up with. First and foremost, when you look at this issue of parliament, the president will appoint additional members to Senate and Parliament. This has always been the case. We have 6 members, non-constituent members of Parliament appointed every time. This has always been the case within our body politic, and the reason was that we should not simply have leadership which emanates from politics. We need to open up and allow certain sectors of society in. So by broadening this paradigm, we find people criticizing when this is actually a better reflection of our democratic movement forward. And also, the president can only appoint, or a president can only appoint additional members of parliament or senate after the elected members have voted him to be president. So essentially, how this undermines democracy is nothing but mischievous falsities, disinformation being propagated as opinion. After the elected members have voted in a president, then the president can appoint additional members from various strata of society. We would love to see business interests represented. We would love to see religious interests represented. Are we saying that a religious person should go into an election for them to be able to represent their interests at government level? This actually broadens the horizons of accountability. So essentially, this is just disinformation, misinformation, and at worst, malinformation at play. The answer to this is very simple. Gender rights are human rights. There is a Human Rights Commission, and gender rights are part of human rights. So it is only fitting, this is essentially not even political, this is just bureaucracy at play, the placing of things together. Gender rights fall under human rights, and we believe that once they fall under the Human Rights Commission, there is even better assessment of how these things are moving. Instead of leaving a commission to be independent of itself, no one can accuse Zanu PF of being against gender equality because from independence, it has been Zanu PF that has been at the forefront of empowering women. From the education policies of the early 80s, where Zanu PF actively pushed for the girl child to go to school, up to now, where we are opening up business and political opportunities, ensuring that there is a quota for women, so that the voice of the women is heard, the room for women to grow is heard. We have one of the strongest gender supportive policies within the world, arguably, and this cannot be criticized and this cannot be denied. So to put the Gender Commission under the Human Rights Commission is simply to put it where it belongs, simply to streamline and stop bloating ourselves and overextending budgets when something can simply be done under one umbrella. That's the simple matter of it. It's administrative. It's someone saying that the bill is asking for example, the Attorney General to be picked from a Supreme Court judge, and they say that is against democracy. How is that logical? We are saying that we should pick from the best of the crop for someone to be there so that the best in our legal mind is reflected. We're speaking to the fact that we want the Gender Commission to fall under one umbrella. How is that limiting democratic space? We're speaking to the fact that we want to broaden non-constituency members of Senate and Parliament so that we open up for other sectors of the society. Leadership is not about being political only, but also to hear the voices of other leaders within our society. How is that limiting democratic space? We're looking at the fact that we're saying that the president must be appointed by parliament, which means that the president is appointed by representatives of the people who have the mandate of the people. How is that suppressing democracy? So when one looks at this, people are trying to subvert, actually, the expansion of the people's democratic will, the potential for the people to be more democratic, to become better. We are decolonizing our laws, and this is essentially rubbing off wrong on certain members who love to keep toxicity in play within Zimbabwe. Constitutionalism is operating within the confines and respective of the Constitution. As long as one is operating within the confines of the Constitution, they are constitutionalist. It is other people that seek to foist their views out of the confines of the Constitution, who are in themselves non-constitutionalists. So what we have is people that simply cannot fathom the creation of a democratic space where toxicity really does not have a hold on society anymore. I've mentioned in previous comments how these changes are defeating and destroying the very, very roots and pillars of the political toxicity that was pervading our society. So, of course, you expect people to be angry and people to be in paroxysm of agony because essentially people have raised kids on this toxicity. People have made and amassed fortunes on this toxicity of headbutting one Zimbabwean against the other. So this amendment bill is dealing with that. This amendment bill is bringing people together. This amendment bill is unifying and consolidating the will of the people. So indeed, I understand, and as Zanu PF, we understand the pain within these protagonists of chaos. But as Zanu PF, we always deliver for the people. Our interests are for the people and with the people. And this is exactly what we are doing.